Cam Newton making some headlines. That's right, guys, admitting that his foot injury is a whole lot worse than he's let on, that we knew about. So he sprained his left foot in week 3 of the preseason, tried to act like it was no big deal. But then last night, Panthers quarterback posted a 15-minute video on YouTube admitting that he hid the injury. So he says he probably wasn't ready after all for week 1, and he aggravated his foot in week 2 in that loss to the Bucs on Thursday Night Football. That was obviously the game that ended with Christian McCaffrey taking the direct snap on 4th and goal from the 3. Obviously, couldn't get into the end zone there. Yeah, we were all kind of wondering why Cam didn't get the ball there, why he didn't try and run it in himself. That's really his patented move there. So the answer is simple. He says he couldn't, and now he just needs some time off.
It could very well be a week, or it could be 2 weeks. It could be 3 weeks. It could be 4 weeks. It could be 6 weeks. But the thing that I have to understand and know, if it takes that time, I trust in this team that we will still be in a great situation by the time I get back. And I think having that type of comfort, having that type of trust, it has really rejuvenated a lot of things for me, because it takes the Superman out of it. I really didn't want that mantra to kind of be there, because you feel like you're immortal. You feel like you can't do no wrong. You feel like this big bad guy, but truth be told, I'm human. And I think throughout this whole time, I'm realizing that everybody has to be their best self for this team. And until I'm my best self, I will be fine, comfortable with knowing that there is means to this madness of me sitting out. I gotta be 100%.
So I got a lot of questions here. Is the hat and the scarf, are they connected? Is that one
I thought
piece?
he looked sharp.
Was he in a cigar bar doing this video?
I like that look.
Yeah, you should rock it, actually.
It was actually
TZ.
together, you know? It wasn't like all over the place.
Okay, so this was obviously very,
smoking?
I think,
That's what I want.
planned.
I don't know what he was smoking. Why you ask me? A cigar?
That's
one
my
of our many
cigar expert right here.
Oh, no, I don't smoke cigars, man.
So what was
hack your Instagram, then.
Yeah, no, I'm not to post no cigars on my Instagram. Boy, you better know your label mate, man.
What was your reaction though when
I was a little
you
lost
watched it?
because I've never been healthy, I don't think, 100% going into a football game. And so for me to expect my quarterback or anybody on my football team to be 100% is probably not going to happen. And so for me to hear Cam sit there and say, hey, if it's a week, it's a week. If it's 2, if it's 3, if it's 4, if it's 6. And I'm like, bro, I don't know if you'll be 100%, because at any given point in that game, something's going to be hurting to where you can't do exactly what you would do if you were 100%. And so I sympathize with Cam, because I understand wanting to be 100%, but I don't know if Cam is even the best quarterback for this football team. Don't get me wrong. Now, Cam is a great football player, but I think at this point, they need a quarterback. They don't need a great football player. I feel like Cam has developed into a much better passer by this point in his career. He's got an MVP, and we kind of argue about, well, how did he get that MVP? Great defense, great run game, and he took shots. Like, he wasn't really sitting back there, Aaron Rodgers throwing it, dismantling defenses. And so, I struggle with even if Cam is the guy for that team.
Yeah, we've seen him so many times make those amazing plays, and that's what makes him so great, is the fact that he can take those shots and get out of trouble and then run around and do all these crazy things on the field. But when he's limited, he's just not the same guy.
No, he's not the same guy. And I don't know how many of our viewers seen the entire video. It's like 15, 16 minutes or something like that. But he mentioned the words I and me like every other sentence. And with you being the leader of a team, an 11 guys on the football field at a time, it's the ultimate team sport. D. Hall, you can't do what you do on the back end of a defense without a pass rush. The pass rush can't do what they do without guys holding up the guys on the outside. And you use me and I so many times in that video. To me, this was all about Cam. And I'm a Cam Newton fan. I was a quarterback like a Cam Newton. They used to run the football, all those types of things. But this video seemed to be all about Cam Newton. We see other movement quarterbacks like a Russell Wilson, like the Aaron Rodgers, those types of guys. They play with injuries. They just adjust their game.
They adjust their game.
Well, that's okay.
And it seems like
Aaron was out there on one leg.
I just wanted to know where you were going to go with this.
They just adjust their game, and you see Cam Newton, and like to D. Hall's point, you expected him to be better as a passer, and if he doesn't change his overall game, he's going to be right back in this situation again. I think this is the first time in Cam Newton's career, probably in his life, where he didn't have success based off of his physical dominance.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, he's meeting some adversity. He can't run over, he can't run past, and he can't be physically dominant then. And to me, we're seeing a dominant athlete kind of go through that transition.
Getting old.
He's getting old.
Getting old.
Older.
And you're
Getting
talking
older,
about
yeah.
him saying I and me and it's not about the team. Well, yeah, I mean, he could have just come out in his press conference. He could have just done this like any other quarterback would have probably in the league, but instead he came out with his own long, elaborate, pre-produced video.
And then a little bit of the arrogance.
That doesn't do anything for anybody?
A little bit
I don't know. I mean, I'm less concerned with that right now. I'm more concerned with Cam, the player, and, he wants to be 100%. 100% of what? I don't think he's going to be 100% of the guy we ever saw. I mean, you go back, you talked about that MVP season. He was making throws off his back foot that were absolute lasers, okay? Yeah. And he didn't have to necessarily read the field the way everybody else did.
Again, physical genetics. It's dominant. It's physical.
It's not
you
there
see what
anymore.
I'm saying?
You had the shoulder, then you had the foot. I just now you're going to have to, like you said, adjust your game. It's like a pitcher who used to throw 99 that now throws 93. He's got to learn how to work the corners. He's got to be more of a control pitcher, off speed, whatever.
Yep.
You can't just overpower guys. That's the way that he used to be. And one of the defenses that faced him this year, I talked to somebody who said, if we knew, because we saw things on tape, but if we knew that he couldn't make those throws, not even remotely that he used to, we would have adjusted our game plan. And we did in game, realizing we could start to cheat a little bit.
And that's why I make the comment, is Kyle the best option for that team at quarterback? Because if Cam can't be Cam and do some of the other things movement-wise that makes him special, like he talked about not being able to run the ball down there on the goal line. Well, that's a play that we probably would have scored on, right? Like Colleen just said. Like, that's a play we would have scored on. We've done it hundreds of times. Well, maybe not hundreds, but they've done it a lot.
I don't know if you saw this, but there was an article in the Charlotte Observer, and it was about how Cam Newton's vegan diet may be hurting the Panthers quarterback, his play and his recovery. So I just wanted to get like your insight on that.
Don't do it.
Don't do that to him now.
Really?
I mean, that's real. I'm not making that up. That was
that has
out there.
nothing to do with that. Don't get me
Vegan
started.
diet.
Don't get me started. But my thing is this. You heard Cam Newton talk about he could be out possibly 6 weeks, right? What if this team goes 6-0, 4-2? With him not being there.
Yeah.
Again, like I've said before on our network.
You know what happens.
Ron Rivera and this front office, they have some real philosophical decisions to make regarding Cam Newton and this entire offense and this entire team.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
And Kyle Allen obviously makes this much more interesting, much more complicated. And just look at the numbers right here. Over the past few years, he's dealt with some injuries, but his play has suffered. And so since winning the MVP in 2015, Cam Newton's total yards, touchdowns, passer rating, they're all down. And not surprisingly, Panthers have not won a playoff game since 2015 when they ultimately lost the Super Bowl that year.